Welcome to another episode of Don't Call It Small. I'm your host, Natasha Foreman. If you don't know me and you have no clue what this podcast is all about, let me share a bit. I'm a lead management and DEI consultant at Foreman Associates, LLC, where we provide consulting and professional development services. And Don't Call It Small is where we talk all things business, share tips and news that you can use, and highlight the people and ideas behind the products and services that we buy. To learn more about our team, please visit ForemanLLC.com. Hello, everyone. Oh my goodness. If you can tell, my voice is not as strong as it normally is. I actually lost my voice the couple of days before Thanksgiving, and I didn't get it back until a few days after Thanksgiving. So it is, I'm just dealing with the, those highs and lows of the vocal strain. So, oh my goodness. I hope that you are doing well and that you are having an amazing December and strong fourth quarter. I wanted to start this episode. First, I just want to share some quotes with all of you. I'm going to grab my little notes. I have a quote that's attributed to Albert Einstein, and it says, "The one who follows the crowd will usually get no further than the crowd. The one who walks alone is likely to find himself in places no one has ever been." I want to follow that up with a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that says, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." And that ties in great with today's theme. We're going to be talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice, and whether or not it is a mission or a bandwagon type of phenomenon with different people and companies. So I have a quick question of whether or not, did you guys read the November 12th thought of the day that was posted on the Foreman Associates blog? It was about the DEI bandwagon. Some people and organizations have jumped on, and some to not be left alone, like they don't want to be left behind. Others to not look indifferent or apathetic. And then there's, of course, others that just don't know what to do. They're like the dog in the Looney Tunes episode of Fox and Hounds. If you remember that episode, he says to the other dog, which way do I go, George? Which way do I go?" So we have people that are like that dog. Most of you don't know that I earned my bachelor's degree in Black Studies. It's now called Africana Studies at Cal State Long Beach. And I did so with the desire to help bring about diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice throughout organizations and communities worldwide. Back in the 90s, we called it multiculturalism. And not everyone could see what I saw and why I was passionate about the work. I went from being a broadcast journalism major and an English major with a philosophy minor to I made this bold shift over to Black Studies. And as I grew and was exposed to broader perspectives, I realized the importance of ensuring that diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice was also represented through the voices, lenses, and life experiences of other groups, not just those categorized by traditional demographics based on ethnicity, gender, so on and so forth. I became passionate about destroying the barriers that limited and limit and exclude the differently abled, previously incarcerated, working parents, the unhoused, and more. It's not just skin color, ethnicity, gender, self-identity, sexual orientation, religious beliefs, social economic status, or political affiliation. There are millions of people who not only they don't have a seat at the table, they don't even have a pass to enter the premises. Yes, we should strive for diversity of thought. At the same time, we should want diverse backgrounds and experiences. And we should fight like we're avoiding a trip to hell by ensuring that we knock down, kick down every obvious, not so obvious, and potential barrier that would be erected to block one or more groups in order to ensure the passage of one or few others. It's not just ensuring that everyone can see over the fence, if that makes sense. It's questioning why in the heck the fence is there. Like, why is it there? And either moving the fence or providing a better way to gain access. So I wanted to share what was written in my November 12th blog post in case you didn't get a chance to read it, in case you're going to be too busy to read it after listening to this podcast. But I said in that post that the ideals of diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice are just now of importance for many organizations worldwide. Leaders scoff and say, that's not so. But I counter and say, yes, it is. For if it were of importance, the founder would have planted, embedded, and nurtured these things in the foundation of the organization. And even if the founder was blinded by bias, fear, hate, and ignorance, or just plain indifference, when the baton was passed to the next leader, and the next, and then the next, each had the opportunity to bring about the change, to get the tools to break that foundation, pull out of the weeds, and plant the seeds that would establish diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice throughout the organization. There were ample opportunities to build, dismantle, or reconfigure the organizational culture and ecosystem that would not only reign over internal decisions and relationships, but determine and set the boundaries for all external relationships, ensuring that the stakeholders they worked with and worked for represented the diverse, equitable, inclusive, and just world they envision. Let's also point out that it's not just of importance that predominantly white organizations create this ecosystem, but all organizations. You can be woman-owned, Black-owned, Italian-owned, Jewish-owned, Asian-owned, LGBTQIA+ owned, veteran-owned, Christian-owned. But if you aren't also an organization that is diverse, equitable, inclusive, and driven by justice, then you are no better, no wiser, no righter than the all white or mostly white male organizations. Yeah. If we walk into your stores or offices and the representation is singularly focused, then what does that say about you and your leadership? How do we know that you aren't intentionally excluding other groups, overlooking other applicants, simply because they're different from you? This just isn't white reconciliation or white male reconciliation. I'm going to throw in there. It's human reconciliation. Yes, the powers that be have historically been wealthy white males. And yes, this same demographic has helped to shape leadership and the organizational framework that most of us have learned to operate within. But we also must be reminded that realignment is required of all organizations, regardless of size, age, or location. I'm not telling white men to let up off of the throttle, and I'm not telling Black, Indigenous, people of color, business leaders that they don't need to put their foot off the throttle. I am saying that everyone needs to be focused and committed to reflecting not only the workforce and customer base of today, but the one that they would hope to see in the future. I've hired people and had interns representing different genders, ethnicities, nationalities, religious groups, socioeconomic statuses, and backgrounds. It's not about quotas, checking boxes, or compliance. It's about opening your mind and heart to the possibility of having a broad and massive reach because you have a broad and diverse workforce, and you're investing in that workforce to include them at the table so their voices are heard and they're able to bring much needed change. It's tapping into that diverse workforce to break down barriers and to be on the front lines when societal issues bleed across your nation and the world. The best and brightest leaders actively bring about change. They aren't hovering in the background trying to avoid it at all costs. If you're going to be an old fart and act like one, then understand that your company may die right after you. Being set in our ways does not always fare well for the organizations we hope outlive us. I can't help it but to laugh when companies post job announcements for DEI positions and they expect the candidates to have 5 to 10 plus years of experience, preferably in an organization that matches their size and complexity, yet the organization is just now seeking out a person to take responsibility for an area that the company has been overlooking since their founding. You want a candidate to do what you never did. You want a candidate to fix what you never saw as broken, only because you don't want to be caught not having a DEI representative with a focus on DEI initiatives, programming, and change management. That, my friends, is hypocritical. It's ironic how many colleges and universities are rushing to create DEI majors on the undergraduate and graduate level. Yet, these same institutions weren't concerned and weren't focused on DEI for the decades they have been in existence. Even if we say, let's focus on a more modern timeline, they still weren't trying to drive DEI change management since the start of the year 2000. The reason is simple. There weren't any societal pressures to do so. It took back-to-back tragedies across the U.S. for organizations to realize that they better jump on the DEI bandwagon so that they could be seen on the right side of history, as we like to say. Some have gone a step farther to proclaim their belief that Black Lives Matter, that our country should stop Asian hate, and that people should have the choice of gender identity, pronouns, and who to marry. I'm not saying that people can't change. I'm not saying that people can't see the error of their ways and declare their realignment. I am saying that the proof is in longevity. We can only pretend for so long. We can only check boxes for so long before we start getting sloppy, backsliding, and reveal our true intent. If we're just doing it to satisfy and appease, this will be revealed. If we truly want to be positive change agents, if we truly want everyone to have social, racial, economic, and religious justice, then we have to walk the walk every day, publicly and privately, on camera and behind the scenes. We don't know what the leaders of these organizations truly believe, what they say behind closed doors with their inner circles. What we do know is that even with the chess moves being made now, history will still show the timeline and the reactionary moves made, and people in the long distant future will still look back and see that many organizations made moves to check boxes and win the game, but not because it was in their heart. Character is revealed no matter what. You can do nothing or overdo everything. Your heart will always show the real you. Choose and live wisely. That was my message for that day in November. And I'm really stressing this because, as I said, decades ago, I chose a major. I chose to pursue a degree to combat the injustices within our communities and in our organizations. People can be led by the crowd, but that's not leadership. That's following the leader. You're not the leader at that point. You're a follower. And it's okay to say, we never really looked at ourselves, at our organization and seen our deficiencies. It's fine to say that. It's fine to say, we were more focused on production, service, contracts, overhead, keeping the lights on, getting and staying profitable. We didn't see ourselves how others different than us would see us, how others with different perspectives, views, beliefs, and values would see us. That's fine. What we have to ask is, would they then want to work with us, do business with us, be our customers, suppliers, partners? Would they want to invest in us and see our growth and success? We have to really sit back and ponder that. I have today on the Foreman Associates blog, we shared a post about leadership, and I'm not going to read the whole post, but check it out. The title of it is called "Will These 7 In-Your-Face Truths Change Your Leadership Approach?" And it talks about the Gallup organization and the research they've done for decades in looking at engaged workers. And they research why great managers are rare and why bad managers are costing companies billions of dollars annually. And there are 7 things that is listed in the blog post that exceptional leaders are known for. And I'm just going to read some of the snippets without reading the details. So one is that they force fear out of the work environment. They build and maintain trust. They listen to feedback. They're positive even in bad times. They rarely procrastinate. They place these strict boundaries on themselves and who they engage with. And they lead with love. But there's more to that. But I wanted to tie that into just today's discussion. And when we're looking at diversity and equity, inclusion, and justice, there's a quote that I found on the Education Pioneers website, and it says that equity can be lonely work, but the advantage to being lonely in the work is that it may stand out and begin to attract other advocates of equity. Just really let that resonate. That, sometimes you're going to be walking alone, but in your walk, in the work you do, in the light that you stand in, other people will be attracted to that. You can be a magnet for positive change. And you can see other people that are also striving for that same change that will walk with you. As a business owner or manager, you should consider how to authentically recruit for diversity, considering all demographics, perspectives, experiences, and lifestyles, and include these voices in ideation, innovation, and decision making. You should consider how to create and maintain an organization that's built and strengthened by equity, where all employees have not only a seat at the table, but those seats are of the same height and strength, not creating an advantage or disadvantage for anyone. How can you focus on corporate justice, ensuring that you go beyond equity and inclusion to zoom in on the barriers, actual, perceived, and potential, and do everything to eliminate those barriers? If you really want the world to be better and you want to be the change you want to see, then it is your responsibility to not only bring change, you got to lead change, you got to push for change, you got to be the change. Oh my goodness, it's scary, it's risky, but it's worth it. There's a quote from Angela Davis that I love. And she said, "I'm no longer accepting the things I cannot change. I'm changing the things I cannot accept." Look at the things that you just can't accept. You just are like, no, enough is enough. We keep putting these barriers up. It's so exhausting. It has to be exhausting to keep building walls. It has to be exhausting to keep building fences. It has to be exhausting to keep chopping down legs of chairs so that people can't all have the same access and advantages. It has to be. Like, people are literally just dying to keep other people down. Like, that has to be exhausting. The energy-focused movement towards equity and justice and inclusion is what separates the doers from the talkers, the givers from the takers, producers from consumers, stewards from destroyers. the humble from the entitled. Results separate you and your company. Are you doing it out of guilt and shame or out of responsibility, honor, and your values? You determine the values, culture, and work environment of your company. The soil, foundation, the roots, the branches can be healthy and strong or weak and toxic. They can uplift or tear down, give birth or kill. You decide the type of tree you will be and the fruit you will bear. It's that simple. Stop looking for someone else to lead. Stop looking for someone else to do the work. Just step out and make a step. Just do it. Just step out. No one's expecting you to solve all the problems of the world. But if you have your own company, if you are a leader within your company, then do your part in that company. Do your part in your household. If you have a healthy home environment, but a toxic work environment, and you are the leader of that work environment, what does that say about you? If you have a healthy work environment, but a toxic home environment, and you're supposed to be the leader of your home, what does that say about you? You need to reshape, rethink, reimagine, reinvest back in what is important to you. What legacy are you living and what are you leaving behind? Wow. Well, folks, it's that time again. Time to wrap up and go our separate ways until next week. If you have questions or suggestions about this show, please email them to us at don'tcallitsmallbiz@gmail.com. I want to leave you guys with a couple of quotes. One is from D.H. Lawrence, and it says that ethics and equity and the principles of justice do not change with the calendar. Here's one from James Baldwin. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. With that, be sure to check us out on Facebook at Foreman Associates and on IG and Twitter at ForemanLLC. Our podcast Twitter handle is It Ain't Small. Be sure to also follow us and share us with your friends, colleagues, and family. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn at Natasha L. Foreman. Reach out to me, say hello, share your story. I look forward to meeting you. I want to make sure that I give proper credit for our show theme song. It's called Higher Up, and it's by Shane Ivers. Thank you for tuning into the Don't Call Us Small Business podcast, for sharing these episodes with others, and for your continued support. And don't forget what I tell you on every episode. Don't call what you're planning, thinking, dreaming, or doing little or small. Go big, go bold, or go nowhere. Our next episode will be on time management and working smarter, which comes in right on time as we're wrapping up this fourth quarter and everyone's rushing to meet deadlines, year-end goals, and much more. So I hope you'll tune in with me for episode 55. Have a super awesome day and week, everyone.